I don't mind the shrinkage.
Hello and welcome to lucky episode number 113 of Unrelenting.
Lucky indeed.
Yeah. And it's April 26th, so that's 13 times 2.
Mm-hmm.
Which explains why I just want to go through our multitude of support and donations for this show right up front because it's going to take such a long time.
Ooh.
SirNoldus came in with 60 Satoshis, which I rounded up to 4 cents. Yes, this show is well funded today, kids.
Wow.
4 cents. We are hitting the big
good
time. Yeah, for this show.
Yeah.
For this show, it is fantastic. Cottongen says, I wish I could transport $10 to Darren O right now. You know, we have the technology to do that, Cottongen.
Yes.
We have the magic way to do it. Although I'm still in the process of setting up the Lightning node. Well, it's set up. It's just sitting there now waiting for channels because I was all, kind of jitty on it. And then our buddy C. Brooklyn was like, I would open up some channels, but I've had problems with multiple podcasters who then just took their nodes offline.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess if you open a channel to somebody and then they disappear, getting your money back may be nearly impossible.
Well, it's not supposed to be.
Oh, I'm sorry. No Beret said that. Cottongen, I'm sorry. I didn't want to put the $10 out of you. And it shouldn't be, right?
Yeah, it shouldn't be. Because the way it's supposed to work is when you put money into the network, everything is proxied. So no actual transfer happens. It's kind of like bank does the same thing, right? Or like credit cards. So when you go out to eat, they swipe your card. They don't even know what the total amount's going to be. They don't know what kind of tipper you are. And so they put in a much larger amount usually.
Right. To make sure you got enough.
And to make sure you got enough with the tip. And then they finalize the transaction with a smaller amount. So the way it's supposed to work, and this is a very non-technical explanation, is very similar to where when you put money in, meaning you send somebody a transfer that I'm not doing a good job explaining this.
Man, you need some more B12 or some caffeine or something.
I have a picture in my head of how this works, but I'm not doing a great job of, I've had like 3 people tell me I need to start taking B12.
That might be a sign.
I keep forgetting what it might be a sign of, but yes. I don't know.
It's amazing how that works. Just the banking system. Holy shit, man. I was just up until like 5 minutes before showtime was on the phone with my mom who had an issue with the online bill pay. And here's the few of the things you're going to learn is that the people doing the online bill pay that you set up right inside your bank's web interface is not your bank. So there's that. It's not.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it's a third-party service that they're whoring this out to.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the company. There's one major company that does this for most
Fiserv,
banks.
was it?
I can't remember.
This was Fiserv. This was the company. Well, this is it. Well, they started out this way. She wanted to pay her Blue Cross bill, pay your insurance. It's important because otherwise then they won't, pay out on claims. And I guess accidentally hit the payee right above, which was Best Buy, and sent the $280 to that. And it didn't say Best Buy. It just said a bunch of numbers, like maybe because our bank, the bank that we are with now and her bank was bought the bank that we had originally. So some oddities may have appeared. So there's no question that she messed up and sent it to the wrong place. She calls our bank, goes into the bank actually, and they're like, okay, yeah, we'll take care of that. And they gave a credit for $280. and then sent the $280 also over to the insurance company. So everything should have been done until today.
Now she owes $500 to the bank.
Right. This is it. The bill pay people are saying that she owes them $280 and they've shut off all her bill pay and they will not pay anything else out and you cannot pay any other bills.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing comes off as such a scam because one, it's an email from a company that's not your bank. The email address was something like online bill pay at customerservice.net or something like that. And I'm like, well, this seems like a fucking scam.
Uh-huh.
And the 800 number, when she called it, said, okay, what's your checking account number? And okay, everybody has access to that. And then they're like, social security number. And she's just like hangs up because she thought it was a scam.
Yeah.
Which rightfully so. We're getting her, to understand that never believe anything.
Incidentally,
you see,
they shouldn't have her social security number.
True.
As a vendor of the bank shouldn't be providing them with your social security number.
True.
They should have some other way to ID you.
This should be questionable. And I get it because otherwise you could call up this company and it's easy to get if you ever paid me via check, I've got your checking account number.
Right.
It's a very non-secure kind of system.
Completely.
So you have to have some kind of checks and balances. Yeah, but this, you don't want your SSN floating around.
Which is, really, it's probably the least private of the private things you might have.
Oh, this is in this world. Yeah.
It's in the US. Yeah. You have one number your entire life. So for the modern Zoomer generation, they've probably already had it go public when they were in teenagers.
Yeah, and you can guess because the numbers, the way they do it by a year, you can kind of tell if you know somebody's age. You don't have to
guess. You can just go on the dark web and buy it.
Well, that's true too. But I don't want to pay. I'd rather just social engineer you. I know.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather social engineer you, get you to call me and go, oh, so what's your social?
Mm-hmm.
And some people will just give it. So she's going to deal with the bank and see what they do.
Now, when your mother was, before she married your dad, where'd she live?
Back in the back of the yards, baby.
The
beautiful city of Chicago.
Chirac. Yeah.
60 plus.
A long line of, what's her last name again?
What's your mother's maiden name? Can you spell that?
I'll get to that. Hold on. Let me pursue at a slower pace. God damn it.
You got to get all those in there. But
I keep the story running. That's all.
It's kind of like, come from that kind of a line of it's a Turgos.
Yes.
So well, how do you spell that? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. So how do you pronounce it in Irish?
Exactly. It just comes out just like that.
It's very musical.
That's why it was great. The longer your last name, the worse. And there were longer ones, but one of my favorite White Sox players back when I was watching baseball was AJ Pierzynski. Now that's a Polish name.
That's pretty Polish sounding to me.
It's like, I would just shorten that up a little bit.
Yeah.
But this is
the ski on the end there.
The kind of scams that are going on. And for the email saying, well, we didn't have the funds to pay Best Buy. It's like, well, wait, but then why do I owe you? If you didn't have the funds to pay Best Buy, who was never supposed to be paid in the first place, why is this a problem? Because originally, when she
went, paid Best Buy.
Well, probably they're like,
oh, for sure, guaranteed.
Well, you get your money back because I can't get the money back because I didn't pay
Best
them.
Buy isn't going to give their money back.
Best Buy's like, you paid us accidentally.
It's a one-way thing.
Yeah, you paid us accidentally. Oh, well.
It's like PayPal. Good luck getting your money back.
It's not easy. It is not easy. And it's all,
I'll tell you what,
that's
I
all
was surprised
too.
It is all a scam. You're right about that. I was surprised. I have a few different PayPal accounts, and one of them that I had that was not tied to a bank account or anything. It was just kind of I set it up for podcasting account.
Oh, and that's nice if there's nothing attached to it. You just get money in and you're not.
Nothing at all.
No string.
Last time I go into that account, I'm looking around. I'm like, how the hell is my social security number in here? I never put that in there.
They attach
it? What the hell?
They figure out who you were?
Yep.
Oh, that's concerning.
Uh-huh.
We must track you across everything you're doing.
I'm pretty sure that if you ever log in on more than one account with PayPal, they have a field in there that connects the two accounts.
Like, oh, this
same,
looks
like
familiar.
you log in from the same computer.
Right, there's
they
a cookie.
can check the cookies. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And they're
but
like,
even if, yeah, I'm not that surprised. I don't really care that they're connecting it. But my problem is more so that they didn't tell me that they did this.
correct.
They'd like, oh, we automated your account information that was missing for you. Please check it and verify it.
Just in case somebody's paying you, we must be able to create your tax form.
Yeah, nope. They just put it right in there. And I'm like, well, what if I wanted it to be a business account rather than a personal account? What the hell, guys? You're just doing shit on your own accord.
And what if it's just a different gene? What if it's a different guy? What if it's just somebody that's
using
on
the same computer with the same cookies? Exactly.
Right.
Could be.
Like, that's no good. What if I was at your house and logged in with your computer? They'd be like, aha.
Yeah, they probably would. That's a good test. Yes. I'm going to try doing that on everybody's computers. Can I use your computer log? I just need to check my PayPal balance. Maybe I'll send you something.
And then maybe their social security number winds up in your account, and then boom.
Maybe. And then boom, there you go. I don't even need to pay anybody on the dark web.
This is a perfect way to get some money. Perfect way to get some funds.
Unfortunately, most random social security number accounts actually don't have any.
No. But just remember online bill pay. My mom's like, I thought you used online bill pay. I'm like, I haven't since it became painfully easy to go into. I would rather go in, and we have credit cards from three places: Chase, Citibank, and American Express.
Oh, you got them all.
And so you log into each one of theirs to pay the bill, so you never have to worry about the funds got routed to a different company thing.
Right.
We have to have one of each because they're all different.
I'm not a fan of giving the vendor my bank account to pull funds from either.
I know. It is.
So it's like, pick your poison.
Yeah, it's a catch-22.
Yeah.
You can't go back to sending checks via the mail because about 50% of the mail disappears now.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like, you can't pay your bills that way. They'll find that check in 20 years when they have a mailman quits and leaves his apartment and there's bags
it's full of checks. Yeah, exactly. There's so I had a couple of notification things that I had a package that they tried to deliver, couldn't deliver. So finally got around to going to the post office. I talked about this on Just the Good Old Boys as well, but
is that show still going on?
It's amazing. We're approaching 100 episodes, man.
Dude named Ben?
Dude named Ben. Yes. He's my sidekick there.
Does he know that?
No, he thinks he's the main host.
That's always the way it is.
I know, right? Exactly. But hey, we got a new theme song. I don't know if you probably don't listen to the show at all, but it's pretty cool. I'm digging it. And it was fully generated by AI.
Sound like Waylon?
Does not sound like Waylon, but it sounds very good.
I'll have to listen then.
You should. I was quite impressed. I even sent the copy to Adam Curry to have him rag on it.
I was just going to ask if I thought maybe this would be proof that Adam listened to the show, but why would he listen to that show?
No, he doesn't. Like I've said for years that Adam does not listen to any other podcasts. He will listen to clips.
Yeah, well, and I know that he listened to your theme song because now I understand when he said on, I believe it was the last show, maybe 2 shows ago. I got like podcasters like doing this stuff like, I got music, it's AI created, it's great. And he's like, it all sucks. And I'm like, well, I wonder who. Now I know.
Yeah, now you know.
It was the Good Old Boy show.
Exactly. It's I thought it was a pretty good job. It's not perfect, obviously.
No, but when you're looking for podcast safe music that you can use just as your bumpers, it's very hard to do. Because
I've been paying like every fucking month for that old music. So, because I'm legal like that. I actually pay for music, but
if you're using it in a performance way, most people don't, and I don't know. It's been a long time since I've heard any stories of any major artist going after podcasts for using 10 seconds to introduce the episode. But that's why I was blessed to have my buddy Tom.
Here's the cool thing. So I just sent it to you in Signal, and because it is copyright free, you can literally play it on this podcast.
Except I don't have it pumped into.
Plugged in? Oh, yeah. Well, that's fair enough. But technology is preventing it, not legality.
Well, I can download it to the desktop. Then I'll have
Now, on the flip side, if I download the latest track of your favorite artist, I cannot play that on my podcast.
Frank Sinatra?
Yeah. Because, the fucking mob would sue me.
Well, that's true. Well, they would probably, they would just break your legs. That would be more of the style. But since I downloaded it, let's see.
Cruising down a back road, strapped a heavy load. My trusty old sidekick, we're on the outlaw road.
You do realize this is way too long to be a podcast?
Oh, it's just the first part of it. That's the full song.
Oh, I got you. How much do you use for the intro? Do you get to the
right part? There? That's it.
Moonshine in the trunk, shotgun by our side, Dukes of Hazzard on this wild and crazy ride, jumping over rivers, taking chances every day. Rebel hearts and southern pride, that's the Hazzard way. Riding on the outlaw road, breaking all the rules we know.
All right, that's enough of that. It's not bad, right?
For musically, passes. No question about it. Musically passes.
For a intro, so just that first part where I said here is how far the intro is in the actual podcast, but it's it took 6 words and 20 seconds to create that.
And it really, I get what Adam Curry said with this stuff. It has no soul, but you're not looking for soul.
No, most of my friends don't have a soul.
You're looking for something that will sound okay, give a little bit of time,
and not cost me any money.
That's a big part. And I'm assuming you could do the vocal without quite the amount of auto-tuning, which would make it a little bit better. But that doesn't necessarily say to me AI, because a lot of people are using that kind of effect.
Well, and this is the free version. You can imagine what their commercial version for actual studios sounds like.
And this is why music is
done.
It's everything is going to be a takeoff. And this is something that I noticed listening to the music that is in the Hallmark movies, which they're low budget because, they're made for TV. And you can tell there's a lot of songs that pop up that you're like, oh, well, that's a Taylor Swift clone. And every now and then you can tell another artist, well, that was like an Elvis clone. They were, getting as close as you can to somebody.
That used to cost real money.
Yeah.
I remember back, this would have been almost 10 years ago, not quite, where a company that I was working with, they were putting out a new product and they needed a new music for it. And so we just picked the style and the artist that we wanted to sound on. And then had a guy, a composer, musician. I don't know what to call these guys. I actually have a friend that's a video game dude as well, who's an incredible musician. But I don't know where you felt that genre of music, but basically they're making a music for hire. And they're very good at making it sound like somebody that you've heard of.
Right. You want something in a particular lane. They can do it without ruining the copyright, without infringing on a copyright.
And it costs $20,000 for one song.
And now you have an AI that'll do it with 6 words in 5 seconds.
Yeah. exactly. Now, the stuff that guy was doing sounded a little better, a little, more put together, but still was a fairly quick thing. You're never gonna pay 20 grand and get a pop song out of it.
No,
it's not gonna catch. So this is like 97% of the way there for $20,000 less money.
Well, yeah, and I was very intrigued with the software. I do not remember the name. You sent me the demo video that a couple of guys did with the AI. One, there were two ways to get the vocal into a song, and one was just to play the melody on a MIDI keyboard and then go in and type the words in.
Yeah.
And the quality that they were getting on that was fantastic. And it was like, oh, if you want to do a pitch bend or you want to do a raise up and you want to bring more energy.
Yeah, that was a while ago. I remember that. Yeah.
You just do this kind of like scribbling with the pen in the interface.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the more impressive thing, though, was a dude singing the song. I think it was the song from the Titanic. The Heart Must Go On. Celine Dion who belted that out so well.
She's got a pair of lungs.
He sang the song fairly horribly.
Yeah.
And with the AI.
I think actually worse than he can sing.
Probably. It was a great demonstration to then use the AI to get it on pitch and then turn it into a female voice. And it was 90, like I said, this is 97.
And do the little vibratos and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And add that in. I mean, you don't even have to have that ability. It's like it just magically did this, which means sadly the technology is now there to recreate tracks from anybody long dead, which on one hand, I'm like, from a technology aspect, I'm like, well, this is really cool. From another aspect, it's like, well, this is horrifying that.
Well, there's a YouTube channel that I posted. I haven't sent it to you, but I posted maybe 3 months ago that comes out with a new piece of music, probably about every 2 weeks or so. And it's stuff like the Beatles singing and then, some rap song. And so it's essentially doing that. It's taking a past artist who no longer exists and then having them perform something that is totally modern and in a different genre. And they had like Johnny Cash doing Snoop Dogg songs.
Yeah, there were.
No, I think Johnny Cash did not Snoop Dogg. He did what was that song? The
that one song.
It's like the Thug Requiem or whatever. What the hell's it called? It's the Gangster's Paradise.
Oh, okay.
That great
Coolio.
Same difference. Coolio, exactly. So he had Johnny Cash do that, and that sounded really good.
The tricky part for some artists is getting the phrasing. I've heard AI recreations of Sinatra who had no clue of how Sinatra sang. It was not like, just like Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson is not your classical singer. He almost talked his way through it and has different ways of phrasing than most people. And that the AI hasn't been able to pick up on, but it will. That'll just be another field.
It's just a matter of time, and all they have to do is just plug in everything that guy has ever sung into the AI, and then it will put together the patterns to be able to replicate it. Because right now, honestly, their AI is overly polluted, meaning they're using data sets that include anything they can pull off, usually for free, and they throw into it. And so it's almost like the AI has heard too much music to be able to perform something accurately by one artist.
Well, and what it kind of wants to do is take the song you're giving it and have the new voice sing it exactly the way the other voice did. And that's where the breakdown, unless these people that are just straight out singers, it's fine.
Yeah.
But if you have,
I think you're absolutely right. What they're going to have to do is actually deconstruct it. And instead of trying to have Johnny Cash's voice sing it exactly like Coolio, they're going to need to get the lyrics separately to do the text to speech with Johnny Cash, and then the melody, and then, whatever background sounds, and then combine it all versus just doing a voice replacement.
Exactly. But they're going to get there. I have no doubt.
Probably a week from now. It is moving. It's a very fast moving train, my friend.
And again, once this technology is out of the barn, there's nothing you can do.
Not really. Although there was a case I saw today of some public school teacher getting arrested for doing a deep fake of the school principal saying racist stuff.
Oh, well, that was, I don't know if it's the same one, but there was recently a principal that this all came out and he swore it wasn't real. So this may be a continuation of that case.
Yeah, probably. I hadn't seen the first piece of that. So what happened?
Well, that was just that the principal was like, no, it wasn't me, never said it. Well, this would then be further proof that the deep fakes aren't just going to happen to Joe Biden and Donald Trump.
No.
The deep fakes are going to happen for everybody, especially podcasters whose voices are easily.
Well, I mean, I got your voice back like a year ago. I sent you some clips. It sounded just like you.
No, it didn't. It didn't sound right. It would not fool like anybody. And I think a lot of it was because of the way of talking, the cadence, the pacing. But it's getting there. I mean, a year later, it may be a lot better. And I'm curious. And I really should just bite the bullet.
And here's the twist, kids. I'm recording this by myself.
Of course you are. Now, here's the thing. I should go in with, I don't know if 11 Labs is still the best in this area, but I'd be curious if I did whatever, because there's differing ways, or not ways, but there are different levels of training. Some, you can put in 30 seconds and it'll go pretty good. But if you feed it 5 hours of speech, you would assume it's going to learn other things and get closer. And if it can do the singing as well as it can, I don't know why. Although, I guess here's the question for you. Which is easier to reproduce and fool people? Is it singing because you have all of the other distractions? You have the music to hide certain foibles or certain things that aren't exactly right? Or is it speech straight out because you have no other, nothing else going on at the time? Do you think it's easier to fool somebody with a singing voice or with a speaking voice?
Probably singing, I would think, because there is more stuff competing there.
And you're more used to although you're used to hearing people speak as well, there are more things that you might not be in the style of singing.
I mean, like, you can have a fake singing voice, but then the instruments sound really good and then it'll sell it.
True. And that's part of it. It's like if the music sounds organic.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's a tough one. I will say that the likelihood of younger and younger people having less and less trust in anything that's recorded is probably not a bad thing.
No, you can't believe anything.
No, you can't. And, I feel like our generation started realizing that, and because our parents sure as hell believe everything. And I think that the current teenagers generation, with all the deepfake stuff, and they're not calling it deepfake, they just call them filters, right? Because everybody's doing filters. Like, whoa, I'm running a filter of Frank Sinatra.
It depends on what's being done. I think once you're taking two images and swapping the face from one to the other, that's more than a filter. But that's
literally what filters do.
But there are standalone programs that do that now, and I'm assuming
there are programs that'll do it in real time. Like, you don't need to edit a video. You can just literally turn on your webcam and be a different person.
Oh, yeah.
Or a cat. You could be a cat, too.
You can do that with Roop Unleashed, which is an interesting project. that does the face swapping. You can do it on your own machine at home.
Yeah.
And I have never tried the turn your webcam on, and because that might just be a little bit too weird. Although it'd be fun. I guess I could start doing a podcast on like YouTube as you and just be like,
you could. Yeah.
I'm taking down. I am going after Vladimir. I will take down his regime.
Wait, what do you mean, you, or you mean like which you are you referring to? Because the way you just sounded does not sound like me. It sounds a lot more like our buddy CSB.
It may be. And he just came in with a 33-33 boost and says, "Go Poland!" And now he is the number one executive producer on this show.
Well, not only that, but we're talking about AI, his favorite topic.
Oh, yeah. He's probably got his ears
if
up.
he wouldn't have sent in the boost, I would have like posted about it after we were done with the show. Hey, CSB, I think you owe us some money here, buddy.
Nathan and Gene talk about AI. They dumb, though. I mean, I'm not going to argue with that.
Who needs a deep fake at this point?
Exactly. Exactly. Now, anybody actually hear CSB, they'd be like, that's not him. That's just somebody.
No, they'd be like, yep, that's him. All right.
We've heard it all before. The impersonations are so good.
Aren't they?
But you can't believe anything you see. You can't believe anything you hear. Welcome.
It's a big week here in our sports podcast. We had the NFL draft happening.
Woo! I know the Bears got a guy.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, nobody.
I heard the Bears got the number one guy.
Yeah, and nobody got a woman though for some reason, or any trans players for.
How dare they?
It's horrible. We really need to do something.
I think the NFL is probably the most trans exclusive organization out there.
They have to switch. They have to do something. It is just not proper. I think
that there should be a mandatory trans player at every team.
Well, at least one. What do you mean, just one? I mean, I would go with half the team to be fair. That would seem to be fair.
That would be more fair, but I'm saying bare minimal.
My once favorite team, the Chicago White Sox. Man, I am so glad I jumped off the bandwagon, Gene.
Oh, I didn't realize you had.
Oh, about 5 years ago.
Oh, well, I don't keep up with news, I guess.
The White Sox so far this year, a staggering record, 3-22 so far.
Wow. Is that even possible given the number of games played?
I don't think so.
I mean, do they just not bother showing up? Is that the deal?
When that puts them at a 12% win rate, they win 12% of their games. And no, this is looking to put them possibly.
I think that's statistically impossible.
It's putting for baseball. It is, because if you have one decent pitcher, usually you can hold the other teams down, and all you need to do is score a run.
Yeah. At some point, it's not even a matter of being better. It's a matter of just being there at all when the other team has a bad day.
Right. Right. When they have a pitcher that just is horrible, that a double-A team would tee off on and score 10 runs. This is getting mathematically hilarious.
It is. Yeah.
3-22. Let's see. The next worst team in baseball. There is one team, the Miami Marlins, with 6 wins. They are 6-20, which means they've won 23.1% of their games. The White Sox, 12%. That's a amazing double win ratio for the next team.
Wow.
It is sad. It is very sad for a team in the city of Chicago that you can't.
It's clear that the city does not love its team.
This is true. They've been saying that for years. They just never wanted to move that team out. This, to me, it does appear to be going right down the playbook of the Oakland A's, which made the team so bad.
Exactly. You got to move it. Yeah.
Right. It's like there's probably more money somewhere
else.
else.
The White Sox, would they go back to Minnesota, you think?
The White Sox were never in Minnesota.
They were totally in Minnesota. I read that. It's on Wikipedia.
They played in Minnesota against Minnesota. But I say there's a possibility that, because now they're pushing for, they want a ballpark in the South Loop area here in Chicago. And I don't see that happening because, who's going to back city-wise or state-wise a team that is 3-22. It's kind of like, why don't you leave and maybe we'll get some other shitty team to come in, but that's less shitty than you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you want to go to the History of White Sox Wikipedia page, in literally the first paragraph, it says that the team was playing in St. Paul, Minnesota.
In what, 1842?
1893, yeah.
Damn. They should go back to Minnesota then.
Yeah, right? That's why I said it. I wasn't just being, hey, I know my sports, man.
It's a sports ball show.
It is a sports ball show. We're officially a sports ball show at this point.
Unrelenting Sports Ball.
Mm-hmm.
Coming to you live from America. Live-ish. Depends where you are. And when you're listening. Do you like I got the Shure microphone hooked in again? Can you tell?
Oh, you do? No,
Yeah.
I could not tell, honestly.
So we got the bass finally pumped up enough on the Shure.
Yeah.
So it sounds closer to the RE20.
Now that you mention it, I can hear the difference.
There's a slight difference.
The Shure is less boomy.
Is that good or bad?
I prefer it to be more boomy. However, I understand why a lot of people like the Shure for voice, because for clarity's sake and for sake of broadcasting on AM radio, you need to have a lot of compression.
Right.
And I think the Shure microphone works better with compression out of the box than the RE320 or the RE300 out of the box.
You got to pump that wattage into the cottage.
Yeah. Or if you're doing like a low band pass, I guess you could remove some of that from the other mics.
It's one of those things that's, there are still more plosives, and this is something that's kind of the pet peeve of mine. People that use the Shure microphone and don't understand that if you talk directly into it, please bring pizza pronto, you're going to pop.
Yeah. Hey, did you ever hear back from Bandrew, or did you ever reach out to Bandrew and ask him about the wireless mics?
No, I thought you were. Oh, I didn't know. We should.
Dude, I don't have his email. You have his email.
He's on the Fediverse. Oh, wait, but you're not.
I'm not on the Fediverse. I have no
X2.
means of contacting a person with a YouTube channel. No means at all.
You're like, you're on the Fediverse. What is this all about?
Yeah, I thought that was just that like fad that was around last decade or something.
He has been messing around on his channel with the lavalier microphones and talking about just how hard it is to get those to sound great. And again, this is comparing to directional microphones. You're never going to get a sound out of a little microphone attached to your chest, or as Bandrew says, between his moobs, that is going to sound as good.
He may be attaching it to the wrong place.
Oh, that's possible. But it's never going to sound as good as a Shure SM7B, a Heil PR40, the Electro Voice RE320
Not a big
or
fan
20.
of the Heils.
It is never going to sound as good, though. Any of the directional broadcast type microphones that are pointing directly at your mouth are always going to give you a better sound than the lavalier.
But that's such a, it's not an objective measurement. That's a very subjective thing to say better.
Well, clearer, better sound. Now, I'm not saying with the proper placement.
I think richer would be the word I would use.
Possibly, because you're gathering more of the audio from the person's mouth hole. Now, with a decent or good lav microphone positioned correctly,
you're not going to get
proper
plosives.
EQ, will do a decent job.
Yeah.
But you have to understand the EQing is a different thing, just like with the Shure microphone or the RE20 with the little bitty or no little foam ball on it. It's a different EQ than if you put the big honking foam ball on it, because that one kills way more of the high end. So you have to know the EQ is not always going to be the same.
Is this podcast called Bandrew Says Podcast?
It is. That's the one he does. That is his podcast, where Podcast Edge is the review channel.
Podcast Edge? I wonder if he has a link to himself.
Podcast Age. So it's Podcast Age, really, if you're spelling
Podcastage.
Yeah.
Castage.
You got
Lavalier Mike Reviews. I'm doing a live lookup of Bandrew's email.
Yeah, if you have never watched Bandrew, we highly recommend you go to YouTube right after this show.
Yeah, we kind of refer to him as a friend of the podcast who's never actually talks to us.
Right. He talks to me on his show every now and then, and it freaks me out.
He?
Yeah.
How does he talk to you on the show?
By like mentioning my name and saying stuff. And there's nothing weirder than when you're like,
oh yeah, he's testing wireless mics. Cool. Good.
Like, which one's good? Which one's bad? Gene just wants to be able to walk around his house while doing a podcast.
Well,
it's like, Gene, what are you doing? Well, I'm just dusting.
Here, honestly, the reason I'm asking, the reason I started this whole conversation is, I've been watching quite a few videos that have people using the Rode lavaliers, the little wireless ones, just snapped onto their t-shirts outside, with a dead cat, but still outside. And the audio sound is freaking awesome.
Yeah, as long as it's not windy.
How much of this has been cleaned up audio, and how much of it is just how good quality the mic produces? I want to know.
I think it's both.
It may be. I'm getting closer to just dropping the money and getting one of these, even if I'm sitting, in front of a computer with a mic on my t-shirt right now. Not my t-shirt, obviously. My
your hairy chest.
No, yeah. Snap it to the hairy chest. No, I was going to say to the Adidas tracksuit.
Oh, of course.
But yeah, of course. But either way, having something that doesn't require me to be 1 inch away from the mic for a 2-hour period of time, I'd be up for that.
Well, and it's being in the more treated your room is, obviously you can get further away.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this in the past, the great Rush Limbaugh, when you see videos of him doing his radio show, he is 3 feet away from the microphone. He is not.
That is so hard to believe.
I know. I don't understand it. I'm sure there are times he was talking closer, but I have seen videos of him that he was not right up on the microphone. I'm like, well, that's weird. But if your studio is treated well, you can get further back and you're not going to have the reverberation. So all you have to do is compensate for the volume, and that's what the channel strips and compressors do. And you got people like Bo Snerdley who are probably turning the dials as well, and
right,
you're keeping it where it needs to be. So yeah, I mean, it would be nice. Some microphones are more apt to do that, and I think the RE320 is one of them, where the Shure SM7B does kind of beg for you to be within a few inches of the microphone. It's not. The more hot a microphone is, the more likely you can use that from further away. And the other thing that's changed recently, we have talked about as well, the plugins that can differentiate between your voice and the room noise and reverb, and allow you to reduce the room noise and reverb and get a sound that will rival, as long as you don't have any other major things wrong, it'll rival having one of those whisper booths that people build to go inside and talk so they have no room noise whatsoever. And it allows you to get a lot closer to that, which is nice, because I would rather do that as a plugin on the back end than have to worry about treating a room, because that costs money. And it takes, it's not simple either. It's not like, well, you could just buy this and your problems are fixed when it comes to room reverb. And when it comes to things like the lav, it's an Omni microphone. And Bandrew mentioned using the lav while sitting within a few feet of his screen, massive amounts of bounce back. So it's actually better suited for being away from everything else.
That's interesting. Yeah, it is there's a difference between simply putting in some dampening material into the room to reduce reverb and actually treating a room to have a clean sound across all frequencies.
Right. A totally dead sound.
Yeah. And I bought at one point for a friend of mine's, it was technically his office, but it was a room we used to hang out in all the time and drink whiskey. But I bought a parametric EQ that had a microphone to be able to do a room specific EQ job.
Right.
So, most people use EQs to just make the music they listen to sound better.
Turn it up, man. They want more bass.
Yeah, exactly. This particular setup was specifically to zero the room, to remove the frequencies that the room propagates more, and to boost the frequencies that are absorbed more in the room. So once you have a totally flatted out EQ of the room, now you can actually start listening to music the way that the artist intended it to be heard.
Yeah, and the funny thing is there are different spots in the room that are going to sound different. So,
absolutely. Yeah. No, you literally tuned this for a seat in the house.
Yes.
2 seats at best.
And it might have been the last 2 Onkyo receivers that I have purchased that came with the little microphone that it's like, put this where you're sitting, and then white noise plays out of every speaker.
Yeah.
And it just does the magic right inside the unit.
Yeah, so it does it for you.
Yeah.
It's almost like AI.
It is.
So it does look like Bandrew has an episode fairly recently of Wireless Go, DJI, TL48, and Shure Movie Mic. So these are all wireless mics he reviewed.
And he's like, they all sound like crap compared to, but it's like, this was it. They're not meant to replace the dynamic microphone. And his overall on that one was, you're still going to get a better sound if you can, using something like a small condenser that's 12 inches away but out of frame. But again, every one of these microphones has a different case for it being used, because you can't always have a dynamic microphone, and you don't want it in the shot.
Even for doing video, like live streaming and stuff, you don't really want that big honking microphone, especially with a ball end sitting right in front of your face, covering like a quarter of your face.
You're like, it's a big ball, baby.
So then you have to make a choice. Do you want it to sound as good as the mic can sound because you're an inch away? Or do you want it to be further away and not sound as good? Or is there a different type of mic that would do what you want? Now, I've always thought that the ultimate solution was to get like the type of shotgun mics that movie studios use.
Yes.
But they start at $1,000 and go to 10,000.
And again, if you know what you're doing and you have the right gear, I did a review on the YouTubes for a LYX Pro, I think it was, just a cheap Chinese knockoff shotgun microphone, where the way I tested it, because again, like Bandrew, it's like, I'm not an audio professional. I just play with this stuff. I put the thing right next to the camera and pointed it at me, and then just did the comparison between the audio that the camera itself got and that the shotgun microphone got. And it was, again, one of those things. It wasn't great, but with the proper processing, and back then I didn't even have the new AI plugins, with the proper processing, could sound quite usable. And that's really the question for most people. As long as the audio is intelligible, as long as you can tell what the person's saying and doesn't sound like it was recorded at the bottom of a garbage can, most people are never going to complain. You could get quite good sound out of a cheap handheld $20 dynamic microphone. that would more than be good enough for doing a podcast or a YouTube video.
Yeah, I agree. If you hold it half an inch away from your mouth.
Well, yeah, you don't want to point it in the opposite direction. Point it at the corner of the room so you can get the most reverb in the signal. It's interesting stuff.
Trying to do that. Yeah, and frankly, the number of people that nerd out about sound and which mic somebody's using is like 0.0001%.
I know. And I'm
no
in
one
that
gives a shit
category.
about this stuff.
Bandrew's in that category. There's a few of us.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's fantastic. And a lot of it is you see for me anyway, when I would watch, this was, I guess, is the biggest problem, watching people do radio, watching your favorite podcasters who were doing video.
Yeah.
The reason I got the Heil was because I was watching Twit, and that's what Leo Laporte was using.
Oh, he's a pro.
Yeah, you think. At least certain things, he's great. Then Glenn Beck was the one that I saw using the Shure SM7B, and I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. You see everybody, including Frasier. Go back and watch Frasier. That's the RE20 sitting on his desk, even though it's. Although
the irony in what you're saying, of course, is none of those people chose the mic that's in front of them.
Probably
a producer did. I don't mean in the video you're watching. Right. I mean originally, when you get hired to work at a radio station or pretend to be working at a radio station, you're not the guy going through the catalog going, what do you think? Should we get the RE20s on this, or are we doing the? No, that's a producer does that.
A good producer, when you have, because Glenn Beck has used a bunch of different microphones over the years. Now he's on a condenser, which is a very nice little. What's an Austrian company? Who have to look up that mic. Now I'm forgetting the name of the company that makes, but it's irrelevant. It is
AKG?
No, it's the other one. They're Lewitt. The Lewitt microphones, they're great sounding. I've got it. The Lewitt 200 or 400 series.
I bet yours isn't white though.
No, well, at the time, the white was the only thing available. I waited to get the black one. I'm like, I don't want the white one. Although now I see they have the custom windscreens made for the microphone, so you can no longer tell that he's using. And I don't know if he still is, but I'm assuming that's the Lewitts that are still underneath there. But that has a little bit of a different sound. The condenser definitely lets more of the room noise in. You saw, if you watched the interview that Beck did with Adam Curry, the microphone's just hanging there above the table.
I thought it was a prop, honestly.
I did too.
I didn't think they were plugged in.
I did too. That's why I was like, God bless you, Podfather, for letting me know that was actually the microphone being used.
Yeah, he's nerding out, is like poking at it.
You hear it like, oh, wait, no, that's actually the microphone. Oh, wow. It's like, it's an interesting way. It's great for the video aspect of it to just have a microphone hanging there rather than having the, some big arm holding it.
I would say what'd be even better is to have a shotgun mic that was coming from across one at each one of them.
Right.
So that there were no mics in the scene at all.
It's like, but this is people like that and I know I'm one of them. I like that vibe, like, oh, it's, for whatever reason. Some people hate it. It's like, that's a distraction. Why is that even there? And for audio nerds, I guess you're like, well, what microphone is that? What are they using now? But for Beck, I've seen him use everything from the Lewitt to the Shure to the RE20.
Yeah. And he doesn't have to have, or he doesn't seem to have the level of commitment to his mics that some of these guys do.
No, Rush. I mean, that was the golden EIB microphone. Yep. With that said, if you're a producer and you're working with anybody, you really should bring in the top 5 choices and be like, well, let's just see what you sound like with each one.
Yeah. You should definitely test them, but also don't trust people on hearing their own voice, because the voice you hear in your head is always very different than what actually comes out.
Really? Because I hear the exact same voice.
No, mine is just perfectly EQ'd with just the right amount of bass.
In your head, it is.
Yeah. Exactly.
The
In my head, it is EQ'd perfectly. Unfortunately, coming out of my mouth, the EQ is all fucked up.
Did you send me this video? Maybe you didn't. There was a video I watched that was a guy, like college age, interviewing a college age Asian female. And it was about people that do not hear their voice in their head when they think. They don't have an internal monologue.
Oh, yeah. The NPCs. Yeah.
I'm like, is this true? That they're, that's just, it's so hard to imagine that. Living in that world, it was like, wait, what do you mean you can't hear?
Yeah, I think it's the same world that Alzheimer's patients live in.
Interesting. It's just blank.
It's the world where your short-term memory, literally of 1 second ago, doesn't exist. So there is no inner monologue to have. I could be way oversimplifying this, but trying to explain it from not watching the video or to someone who hasn't watched the video. But it's the idea that, like, we assume as people who have an inner monologue that everyone has an inner monologue, and that before you open your yap and actually say something, you had a thought, and that thought sounded like you talking to yourself.
Right.
But that's clearly not the case for an awful lot of people. I dare say even the majority of the people don't actually have that.
See, that's interesting, because I think that would be a huge hurdle, or at least put you at a disadvantage to the people that have that ability.
Or maybe you just don't have to deal with a lot of self-doubt and stress.
Maybe.
I kind of think like most salespeople don't have that.
Well, they're always talking. They never stop to have the inner monologue because the outer monologue's going on.
The outer monologue's going, and more importantly, they don't seem to be affected by people saying no.
Well, no, that's just a hurdle. That's just another way you have to get to yes. Well, what do you mean, Gene? No. What can we do to get you in this today?
Yeah, exactly.
So
I don't know. To me, it's like, no. Well, you're not worthy of buying this anyway. Fuck you.
That's a different kind of problem solving.
That I know. I'm a horrible salesperson. I have turned people away when they've made me feel like they're not worth having the stuff I'm selling.
It was such a weird interview, though, because he asked her the question, well, what about when you read? Do you hear your voice? And she's like, no. He's like, well, what is it like when you read? And she's like, well, I understand the shapes, and like certain words like go up into this, they kind of move into this category. And he's like, that there's some kind of visual thing going on, which I'm like, well, that's just weird.
Right.
I mean, I can't even put my brain around what that would be like.
Well, you can. I think you can. If you watch TV and it's not a topic you're particularly interested in, you probably don't have an inner monologue happening at that point. If it's something that interesting, you're probably thinking about it as well as watching it at the same time.
Like,
so
how can I make money on this?
Yeah, there you go. But if it's just something passive and you're not all that interested, you're probably just observing without really thinking about it.
We're talking about when reading that the words just kind of go into like certain buckets in her head, and then she can recall those. It's like, that is just very strange. It's like, I don't
think that's actually what's happening. I just think she's lacking the vocabulary to describe it.
It could be. I just don't understand. It's like, I always just assumed that everybody was having an audiobook in their head. If you sit there and read the text, you hear the text. I just don't know. It's like, I'm looking at my screen right now, and I'm like, I can't even imagine if I was looking at these words and then didn't hear them when you read them. It's just, well, what are you doing? I'm just looking at words then. You're not.
Well, and I'll tell you something else. If you've ever taken a course in speed reading, which I have years ago, you learn to not say the words. That's one of the things they tell you right off the get-go, that you need to stop being in that habit, is you can't be like hearing yourself say the words, because you're going to be reading a page
way too slow
in a
then.
few seconds.
Right.
So you're not going to go going, blah, 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 you know, super fast. You can't do that. You have to just look at them and move on.
And somehow file
Your brain
those away.
is
The
fully
important
capable
things.
of picking up the story from doing that. You don't need to mouth all the words in your head.
You don't need to hear it to enjoy it, maybe, but I guess to just understand the concepts. I mean, I can't imagine like speed reading The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and being anywhere near amused by it.
But, well, I don't know. I've never tried doing it with fiction. I've only really speed read nonfiction, but
which makes
is
more
something
sense because you're looking for facts.
For data.
Yeah.
But it is amazing, really, into how your eyes can see something for just a couple of seconds, move on, and then you can still recollect what was said in those words.
Oh, it's like the people that have perfect recall. That's another thing to me that's always been really freaking bizarre when somebody can go, well, hey, Gene, let's see, March 15th, 1987. And you're like, well, it was a cloudy day. 64 was the high. I went to school. I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And my buddy Jim gave me a cassette copy of Guns N' Roses. It's like, what? And then when you find out it's accurate, and since we are a sports ball show, the great rapid Robert Bob Feller, pitcher for Cleveland back in the day, he had that perfect recall and would tell stories about certain games and say, well, here's what I did to this guy, this. And this was all verifiable, and he was right. I just can't even imagine being able to pull up any day in my life and tell you what I did minute for minute.
It's gotta be something that is, notable. Like I can tell you the weather on May 25th, 1983.
Was it a blizzard?
No, it was a nice sunny day. I was in I think it was in the upper 60s.
And this is what happened on that day.
Return of the Jedi got released, and I was standing in line to see it outside the movie theater. So
you recall that, which makes sense.
I remember that to this day. I remember the weather. I remember the location. I remember, a lot of things around that. The theater doesn't exist anymore. I've looked it up on Google Maps. That theater isn't there. An awful lot has changed, but I remember that scene in my head, including the weather, because obviously it made a tremendous impression on me as a kid.
I saw the original Star Wars, unless I'm totally hallucinating this, at a really small theater in French Lick, Indiana. And I saw a few movies there. This one, 77 would have been. Now
so you saw it in the original. See, I didn't see it then. I saw Empire Strikes Back first. Then I saw Star Wars. And then I saw, obviously, Return of the Jedi when it came out.
What kind of horrible parents let you see Empire Strikes Back before Star Wars?
This is the best one. What are you talking about?
It was the best movie. That's true. That is true. Empire Strikes Back and Jedi was still pretty good. The original Star Wars has its nostalgia. And, did an interesting job setting things up. But yeah, you remember these weird little things. Used to love going to French Lick as a kid. There was a little putt-putt golf course.
Yeah, did you ever see George Lucas in Love?
No.
Oh, you should watch that.
I got a lot of things on my list.
I know your list is growing. It was a fairly well-produced kind of parody based around Shakespeare in Love. Which essentially takes place during George Lucas's, I think it's the end of his, right after college. And it was right when he's coming up with the storyline for Star Wars. Right. And so you see him as a young man dealing with, a woman who doesn't value his love. And then putting elements of that into Star Wars. So it uses Star Wars as the backdrop, the original movie Star Wars for how Lucas wrote it, and it's funny because obviously we assume that's not what happened, but they do a very nice
I'm seeing
explanation of
already
why he did
the stoner roommate who's dressed like Obi-Wan, smoking a bowl while he's trying to write it here a long time ago.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so you have all these real world elements that clearly end up coming out as characters in Star Wars, and they're all just real places and people and surroundings around him.
Well, that's how good writing is. You take what you know, you put a new facade on it, you do something like that to make it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then there you go. I mean, come on, look at Clerks, Kevin Smith's opus. It's just a couple guys working at a convenience store.
Exactly.
It's kind of like this podcast. This is the Clerks of podcasting after the Seinfeld of podcasting.
I don't know about that. No, there's no.
You're like Seinfeld.
Chinese finger traps in this podcast, my friend.
You're like Seinfeld has enough money, he won't sue us. Kevin Smith might. So
yes, Kevin Smith might sue us.
He's like, oh, you guys. No.
Especially now that he lost all that weight.
Yeah. But once you have the holy mother heart attack or whatever they call it, the Black Widow of heart attacks, it's like, that's it. Yeah. You don't want you don't want them veins. You don't want them arteries to be all clogged up.
No, you really don't. But, it happens.
Yeah, with enough pizza.
Yeah.
And Twinkies. Yeah. It'll get there.
The Bears.
The Bears, everybody. This is a sports show. The Bears are looking for a new stadium. The Bears.
Yeah.
The Bears.
Oh, that was a fun character.
It's another team that I never cared anything about, the Bears.
The Bears.
And it's funny because my buddy that, did the carpet work for us that I worked for years, grew up with the McCaskey kids, really good friends with Virginia McCaskey, who's still kicking.
Mm-hmm.
He has an inside the house pool, and Virginia used to come over and go swimming at his house.
Wow.
I'm like, but I never cared. Like, why, you want to go get seats up in the owner's box? Like, for the Bears? No. Sorry. It's the Bears. No, it's football. No, I've never. I went to one playoff game. I don't think I ever experienced a Bears non-playoff game. I went to one playoff game with my cousin once, and I went to the Orange Bowl once when I was down in Florida at my uncle's. And I went to, maybe one of the football games when I was in high school of the big rivalry between our school and the other. It's like, I have never been a football fanatic.
I'm trying to think how many times I went to a Vikings game when I lived there. I think maybe 4. And I only went if somebody else bought the tickets.
One, it's a better way to go.
Yeah.
Cheaper
and one
better.
Of those times cost me a digital camera.
Uh-oh, what happened? You drop it?
I left it there.
Oh, you left it there. Oh, yeah. That's even worse.
I had my lawyer give me 50-yard line tickets that were like in the 8th row, 50-yard line. You can't get a whole lot better. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to bring my digital camera. And this is back in, this would have been probably 1998 time frame. So this is back when nobody had digital cameras. Yeah, I had a digital camera.
It was fancy.
And I brought it so I could take some photos. And this is before they even told you not to take photos. And had photos, enjoyed myself, had a good time, went to get food, came back, and didn't think about the fact that when I went to get food, I left my camera on my seat. Oh. Didn't notice that the camera was gone when I came back. And about the time that the game ended, I was like, oh, shit, where's my camera?
Damn, somebody snatched it on you?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think it was a vendor, is my guess.
Damn, man. Vikings.
Yeah, I don't think somebody would have walked off, grabbed it, and then went back to their seat.
You never know, but yeah, it's harder.
I think it was a popcorn vendor.
Did you think somebody would be like,
or a cheese curd guy.
We saw they have those in Minnesota.
At the Vikings games, of course.
Of course, you have to have a cheese curd guy.
Get your cheese curds right here. Cheese curds. You want some cheese curds, sir? Oh, there you go.
Oh,
Pass that along. Pass that along to the man at the 8th person down the row there.
Yeah, hey there. You got any dipping sauce, eh?
Mm-hmm.
But that's
dipping sauce.
You figured somebody had to see them. How do you just
somebody got a camera out of it. So,
True. True. It's out there somewhere in the world.
That was the first time I ever had to use insurance.
And how much was the camera and how much did they actually give you?
It was like $1,800. It wasn't that expensive.
So they're like, here's $500. Let's call it a day.
I think I had a $500 deductible. So it was, I probably got a check for like $1,200 or something.
Better than nothing. That's true.
Yeah. Better than nothing. Lost all the photos that were on there. Luckily, they didn't have much memory, so there's probably only about 20 photos that I lost.
You're like, what's on there? Oh, no, it's the gene of nudes. Oh, boy.
No, definitely not. But it's a, I haven't really spent money on going to football game, and who can afford to, frankly?
No.
The prices to go to a football game are insane, man. We're talking like $200-$300.
Dude, going back 6 or 7 years ago, well, about 7 years ago. So when I still had two eyes, but so we're going back between 7 and 10 years ago. My parents still had full season tickets to the Chicago White Sox, 2 great seats up in the club level. So there was only 5 rows up on that whole level. So there was no bad seats. They had in-seat service. So if you wanted a hot dog, they bring it right to you.
I like that.
And it got to the point where even with free parking and free tickets, which sure, that covered, $120, whatever the tickets were at that point with the parking. So 120, 150 for 2 tickets and parking. That was covered. Oh, yeah. You want a soda? $5.95. Oh, yeah. You want a hot dog? $8.95. And I'm like, it's not worth it. It's really for being there for 3 to 5 hours for the amount of liquid and food you're going to buy, and you're going to have lunch or whatever when you're there.
It's a lot. But I've always kind of considered baseball to be mostly just a location to get food.
Right. Which is why the food is so good. And I will give them that. They had really good concessions, but.
Yeah. I wonder if the concessions in old school Chicago are better than they currently are.
It's hard to say because they've gotten fancier. They've got like the Levy restaurant groups, I think, has been covering them for the last decade plus.
Mm-hmm.
So compared to back in the day where you were only limited to, when I started going to White Sox games anyway, it was hot dogs, burgers, fries, peanuts, of course, Cracker Jack.
You got to get the Polish.
The Polish, having a good sausage up in Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
That was good. And the White Sox back in the day had one Mexican, little mini restaurant
that's funny.
In the ballpark where you could go get tachos. My dad and I, that would be like a thing. Well, yeah, now it's just like the nachos and the crappy cheese that they give you. This was, there was only one of them in the ballpark. I don't think it was even connected at all to the other concessions. It might have just been like a local, Mexican restaurant that had the little stand there. And it was really good Mexican food, but otherwise you didn't have a lot of choices, where now they go out of their way to make the food good, which when the product on the field is as bad as it is, the food should get better and cheaper.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I've never been to Wrigley Field.
It is a urine-soaked hellhole right in the heart of Chicago.
Yeah. I had friends that lived really close to it in Wrigleyville. So I've stayed there and I walked around, but I've never actually gotten to the stadium.
The last time I was there, I believe, was when I was in college. So probably 92.
Oh, wow.
And it was a hellhole then. It's, I get why people like the old ballparks for the nostalgia bit again, but they are not comfortable. Wrigley is not a comfortable place.
Yeah, that's true. And I only went to I don't even remember what the name of the stadium was. I went to the last game the Twins played in the outdoor stadium, and then they started playing in the Metrodome.
Wow. I don't even remember pre-Metrodome.
Yeah, it was there. The stadium was where the Mall of America ended up being. So that was why it was a big empty territory, because there was a stadium there with a huge parking lot.
Makes sense. Like, we got to put something here.
Yeah. So when they started looking for a place to build the Mall of America, or the Mega Mall, that was the spot it ended up on. So that's why if you actually ever drive to the Mall of America in Bloomington, Minnesota, you will see that they have like Kirby Drive, and like all the roads are baseball themed.
Right. From back in the day. Yeah. The Metrodome didn't open to 82. I don't think I ever made it to Minneapolis before 82. But I did make it somewhere shortly after it opened, and it was, amazing, because now you look back on it and you're like, oh, that was a horrible stadium.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, it was like, wow, this is inside, man.
Yeah.
How did they
your
do
ears
this?
Popped.
Yeah, well, going through the doors.
Yeah.
It was like a pressure chamber, like, whoa.
It was literally a pressure chamber. And then the big signs that were, do not open door. Do not open door. The roof will deflate if you open the doors.
How do we get in? Got to go through this little rotating
and then
thing.
The number of times that the snow on the roof caused cave-ins. I mean, it's just a crazy idea. Hey, let's just build a really big balloon on top of the stadium.
Yeah, hefty bags will take care of anything we need on the roof, right?
It's insane. I'd like that. That was the concept that won out. Holy cow.
And the new park looks beautiful. Never made it to that one.
I've never been there in person. I've only seen pictures, but it looks a lot more modern and stuff.
Of course, it gets a little chilly in Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
So the game is a little cold. Yeah, hey.
You betcha.
I was just looking at the weather forecast for here. It's still like a month and a half away from when 80s are supposed to be here with regularity. We're supposed to get 80s this weekend and then drop back again for a long time.
It's a balmy 78 here right now.
Oh, that's pretty nice, eh?
Mm-hmm.
It is chilly here. It's probably 50 some odd degrees.
Is it? It's supposed to, I think, get up to 85 today.
We can go out and get a tan.
It still hasn't.
Go out and get a tan. It'll be nice.
Oh, it's way too cold for that yet.
I remember when the Mall of America was another great wonder. Is it still? I wonder if it's still filled. If it's.
I watched the video of roving bands of. I mean, I hate to call them kids, but basically BLMers having a fight in there the other day.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I think is all malls are going to.
I think it's the mall culture is done.
Because we have the convenience culture now, which is won over.
We do. But also when you no longer use areas that were prominently used by middle-class people, when they kind of disappear, a lot more shady elements start to use them.
Yeah, well, that becomes
I think that's the way of the Mall of America is fast going that way. I mean, they've had shootings there. They've had all kinds of stuff at the mall.
Nice. Makes it a lot more fun. Well, I remember it was last year, I think, NASCAR must have been around there, because I think Kyle Busch and his family, which is a big NASCAR driver, was in the mall when the shooting occurred. It's like, so I'm assuming there was probably more than one shooting.
Yeah.
It's like, but you feel like you're just not safe anywhere you go.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have to be armed yourself. That's not really going to help you, though.
Absolutely.
If it all depends on the circumstance. But that place was awesome back in the day.
It was. I was there when it was being built, and I remember the parking lot. So since it was built on a very level place to begin with, which is where the old stadium used to be, and the parking lot's there, and they tore all that down. They built actually, before they built the actual mall, they had built the parking lot for the mall. So that whole area was just paved over. And I used to go there rollerblading. So that was a great spot for rollerblading, because you've got fresh, brand new, super flat level asphalt, and it was a very large area. So basically, running a ring around where the construction for the actual mall was, you could do a whole ring on this brand new asphalt on there.
You had a whole racetrack right there.
And it was basically a racetrack. Yeah, it would take, I'm trying to remember how long it was, but it was probably about maybe 10, 12 minutes at, 12, 14 miles an hour of rollerblading to go around it. It was not a small amount of parking lot. So that lasted probably 9 months or so before the construction really took off, and then you couldn't really rollerblade there anymore. But when they originally put it in, it was the weirdest thing because they did the parking lot first.
I guess that kind of makes sense, but it had to look weird.
I don't know, man. I don't know, but I utilized it. That was back in the day when everybody rollerbladed. It was the thing. Get your neon rollerblades out and go for a ride.
It opened up in 1992. So with the dome opening up in 82, that took a long time to get this thing opened.
Yeah. They tore down the old stadium pretty quickly, probably within 6 months to a year, but there was just empty, flat ground for a long time. And then finally they, I guess, sold the property to build the mall.
It has 5,600,000 square feet of gross area in the mall.
Mm-hmm.
Damn,
I wonder if that includes the theme park inside, or is that just the store space?
It does, because it says the retail space is 2,869,000.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, they had a Hooters. That was really all you needed.
They had a Hooters. They put that up on the fourth floor, kind of away from everything.
Because, family venue.
No, family, yeah, exactly. Because really, the main center focal point was Camp Snoopy.
Well, and I remember Camp Snoopy. I think we still have a little stuffed Snoopy from there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
It is.
I can't remember. I think originally they were trying to do a deal with Disney, and then when that fell through, it became Camp Snoopy.
Right, because we have to add something like with Knott's Berry Farm or something. They're like, we'll pick up the slack. Well, who needs them Disney people?
Yeah, who's a character we can get for cheap?
Snoopy. How you doing, everybody?
Yay, Snoopy.
Little roller coasters.
They did. The roller coaster was actually pretty cool. I remember riding that thing.
Go to the
Ferris
mall.
wheel. They had all kinds of stuff there. And back when it was new, when all, fresh mall, there was definitely a little bit of a more higher end feel to it.
Oh, yeah.
Compared to the other malls in Minnesota.
Well, so they have probably fallen at this point to, so again, it's the lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
Shopping has totally changed since 1992. This internet thing has taken off.
Yeah. What's that all about?
The speeds that you can get your deliveries and the
convenience. Insane. Yeah,
well, it is.
And speaking of, I need to do my grocery order here before we wrap up.
Oh, right. You got to get some food in.
Got to get some food in. I'm almost out of iced tea. Got to get some iced tea going.
Well, I noticed
as a little side factoid here, that the oldest, I should say, indoor mall in the country was also in Minnesota.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's freezing there. I guess they always
that's why. That's literally why. And that was Southdale. And the Southdale Mall was constructed in the mid-'60s. Now, there have been outdoor malls that are older, certainly. Like one of my favorites is the Plaza in Kansas City, which is one of the oldest planned outdoor malls in the United States, where it's nothing. And what distinction being, a mall is a place that has just stores. So it's just commercial space. There's no industrial and there's no residential. So a mall is an area that is exclusively commercial space.
We've got a nice outdoor mall here. Again, I haven't been to it in over a decade. Oak Brook Mall in Oak Brook, Illinois was originally, again, a very snooty mall. And I don't know if you can have that anymore. I don't think you have the high-end stores that are going to do this because it's way easier to do business.
Oh, you remember Mallrats? Speaking of Kevin Smith,
great movie. One of Kevin Smith's
Mallrats
best.
Was shot in
your mall.
In my mall in Eden Prairie Center, which is the mall that I would ride my bike to before I had a driver's license and hang out at the mall.
You were one of them kids, huh?
I was one of them mall rats.
We used to take the bus every now and then, but
go
it wasn't
to the
easy.
Orange Julius.
Oh, well, yeah. I don't remember ever having one.
Oh, I have. They were great, man.
There were various.
It's like basically fake orange and sugar.
Well, what could go wrong?
Ah, so good.
Keep you
Orange Julius.
They
might have had a little bit of real orange in there, but I'm pretty sure just a small part of it was real.
Not anything healthy in the cup at all.
I think it was mostly powder.
No
powder, a little bit of water, maybe a little tiny bit of orange juice.
No Beret says, poor Lincoln Mall. Oh, yeah, that was one of the malls here that closed. They just closed Stafford Square. No Beret. The malls are closing at a very good clip. They're turning into, it'll be all migrant encampments soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, well, hey, we got a lot of space.
What else would it be? Of course
True.
It would be that.
It's like that would make a hell of a lot more sense.
Did you guys have any protests at DePaul or anything?
You know, my wife asked that exact question when we were watching O'Reilly last night, and they were showing Columbia. And she's like, they're doing this in DePaul too. They have to be, because it's a woke liberal institution now with a bunch of punk ass kids who don't know what they're freaking talking about.
Exactly.
And that's why it's great when you stop people, and the clip's been going around everywhere of the girl that's like, well, why are you here at New York? Yeah.
And it was the stupidest location too. It's like the Institute of Fashion Technology.
Why are you here? I don't know. Somebody said to come over here. Well, what are you protesting? I don't know. Do you know? What are we supposed to be protesting? Like, really? You don't even know what you're protesting.
Yeah. And it's really important.
Well, this is where it'll come out, if it hasn't already, that money to do all this organization came from Soros groups, and
it all comes from Iran. Yeah,
they're giving out free tents, or they're giving away free food and drinks to people that come out. And these are all professionally. This is a bit that's frustrating to me, because my other co-host, my sidekick, Ben named Ben. Dude named Ben, the sidekick. I keep saying sidekick because I know he's going to really get pissed at me saying that. Does he listen to this show?
Oh, he does. Yeah.
Well, thank you, dude named Ben. Donate.
Yeah. Unlike you. Well, he actually donated way long time ago, like a year and a half ago. I think he sent a donation. But he and I are on opposite sides of this current situation. And we, in fact, recorded a special episode, and I put it out yesterday. So it was not during our normal weekly episode run. It was an in-between episode on just this topic, because he thinks that like protesting is the most important right that people have in the country. And I think these are just BLM run by Soros, a bunch of spoiled, useful idiots that don't understand what they're doing or saying, but in the process are actually affecting Jewish students who are trying to go to class and get their JDs.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's just, it's like, look, not understanding why you're protesting is not an excuse not to get arrested.
No. Well, they're not being arrested because the liberal district attorneys aren't going to prosecute that. Now, if you were... And even if you do get arrested, you're not going to get prosecuted. That's exactly right. So getting arrested is literally the entirety of the worst thing that happens to you. You're not actually going to get prosecuted. Well, unless you're arrested for protesting the wrong thing.
Well, of course. But I mean, like Governor Abbott sent in the state police to basically break up and arrest a bunch of people that were interfering with free movement and the ability of students of a religion they don't like going to their classes. And it's like, no, we're not going to allow this shit in a state college. And so I think that's about time. I think they should have done that during BLM just as much. There's no difference in one approach to the other. They should have been arresting people at BLM. They should have been arresting people now. And thankfully, they've started to finally, in my opinion. So,
yeah, not that much different than immigration. There is the legal way to do it, and there is the illegal way to do it. And when you protest, if it's a large enough group, you can't just go disrupt, these assholes that are sitting in traffic. It's like, I say, run them over.
Yeah, exactly. And there's the thing. The word protest almost means nothing anymore because it doesn't actually mean protest in the sense of what Gandhi was doing or what Martin Luther King was doing. Protest now means stealing shit, breaking windows, keeping people from driving, keeping people from going into buildings. It's a much more aggressive, hostile type of behavior, but it's still called a mostly peaceful protest.
Right. That was O'Reilly's solution to this. He's like, you know what? If I was in charge in any of these schools and these students wanted to protest, it's like, here's your little area. You can protest between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. If you leave the area, you are now suspended. You are not coming back to school. If you do it after those hours, you're gone.
And here's the thing. Ben really hates that. And apparently while he was at college, he was protesting the fact that they had these little protest areas. So he is very personally involved with this shit.
He was protesting the protest areas.
Well, no, he's protesting the fact that the college requires you to be protesting during a designated area instead of protesting anywhere you want.
Well, he shouldn't be in a polite society then.
Well, I told him, dude, you're just a hippie, dude. I'm sorry. I know it's a big insult, but I got to call you out. You're a hippie.
No, see, the hippies would actually follow the rules. It's beyond that. No. The hippies would be like, okay, man.
Yeah, a hippie, I think you're right. A hippie would follow the rules, but like feeling sad and sorry for everybody is the hippie behavior that I'm pointing out here. This is, I know you don't really watch Timcast and then the Pool Man, but his sidekick on that show, Ian, is the token hippie. Like, it doesn't matter what the take is, leave it to that guy to come up with a way to say, well, but it wasn't really their fault.
Really? Okay.
It's like, Jesus Christ, man.
You find the loophole.
It's their fault.
Yeah.
And he's not a liberal, but he's just a hippie. He's just like, oh, well, let's give him another chance.
Everybody should be allowed
can't we
to
all
do whatever.
Just get along?
Right. Everybody's allowed to do whatever they want. If it feels good.
Yeah.
Ryan Bemrose in the troll room says, I really loved when they mostly peacefully burned down Minneapolis. I'm like, that was a beautiful time.
Yeah, totally.
That's just
I mostly loved the lightning strike on the mural. That was what I mostly loved.
It is you don't want to really, why do you have to be such a hater? I don't understand.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm not the one sending lightning down to strike the mural.
It's
of a drug addict.
Yeah. Who broke the law. Who, I mean, again, if you look at the reality of a lot of this stuff, I am not surprised as much of a douchebag as he is Harvey Weinstein, that thing getting overturned, I think shows that the justice system has to work within a certain construct. That if it doesn't,
it also shows that the justice system was working very much for the Believe All Women movement for a long time, because a lot of guys, like he I'm sure is a completely disgusting pig of an animal human being. However, I also don't believe most of the women that came out and said shit, because here's my take on it is, if you want something and somebody says, oh, well, if you want that, you're going to have to take your clothes off. You have a choice at that point in time. You can slap them and leave.
Right.
And not get what you want.
And how many times you've been slapped?
Or you can take your clothes off and get what you want. Now, when you take off your clothes and you get what you want, you're getting what you want at that point in time. And coming back 10 years or 20 years later and saying, oh, he was so horrible, he forced me to do this, is utter bullshit. Nobody had you chained up in a dungeon. unless that's what you took your clothes off.
Unless that's what you asked for.
But the point is that they weren't asking you to take your clothes off while you were chained up in the dungeon. So there is a lot of regret that somehow we've allowed, and I know why we allowed, because we let women vote, but we've allowed to influence decision-making in the legal system. Just because you regret doing something stupid when you were young doesn't mean that it's somebody else's fault.
I am such a professional podcaster. I was drinking some liquid death when you said we let women vote, and I wanted to laugh.
Oh, you notice I put that in there? Okay.
Wanted to laugh so hard, but then I would have a lot to clean up in the keyboard.
Your microphone would be going zzz.
Right. Like, oh, got to get a different microphone. Be right back. It's right on the floor. It would only take a minute to
spit take
to swap them out. But I don't even believe what percentage. Here's the other question then. What percentage of these events with Harvey Weinstein or anybody else do you think were predicated by the female going like, if you give me this role, I'll do this, offering it. It's like everybody's assuming that Weinstein was putting this out there. Instead, it could have just been, again, guys are guys. If you got power, you're in the ability and you're able to provide something, and some hot chick's like, we could do this. You're like, all right. This sounds like a great idea.
Women also like powerful men, and they will do things for powerful men they would never do for weak men.
This is true.
It's genetics. It's just the way the brains are wired. So consequently, if you're the head of a studio, you're going to get a lot more willing participants than if you're some schmo cleaning up after the actors.
Right. You're getting offers. At that point, you're putting way too much on the guy to do the right thing. Put that in air quotes. It really is not fair if this whole, like, I was forced to do it.
Yeah. Well, and I understand how this probably came out where both people look like they're right, is that the women were trying to get something from Harvey, like to be in the movie, and were using flirtatious behavior to do it. And it's like, yeah, no, you're so funny. I love hanging out with you. We should hang out more, Harvey, and I should be in your movie.
Because everybody knows if
and
you're
then
looking
when they're hanging out, they're like, oh, but maybe I'll just change clothes into something more comfortable. But that's as far as it goes. It's like, okay, so what do you think's going to happen in this scenario where you're basically getting to the point of intercourse and penetration and saying, oh, well, that was fun. Let's just spoon for a while.
You've heard that more than once, huh?
Fuck you.
This is just a high stakes, high level job interview. And everybody that is listening to the show, I'm guessing, has gone through a job interview at one time or another.
Where you had to take your clothes off? Totally.
Right. No, you don't walk in and be like,
what?
You don't walk in the door and be like, hey, fuck you, asshole. What's up? You're as nice as you possibly can be to the person who is going to be deciding your fate. And that's just with a very little bit of authority for a regular job for most people. Not, here's a $50 million, okay, that's probably a little high, but a, multi-million-dollar contract to do a movie.
Right.
People would do a lot of things.
Oh, dude, you remember that show that Joe Rogan used to host where people would eat disgusting shit for not a whole lot of money?
Fear Factor, right?
Yeah, Fear Factor, yeah.
He was way better on the Man Show.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's better now than any of those, but yeah.
Doubling up today, doubling up another 3333 from Comic Strip Blogger.
Wow.
Swap meat for Chrome. Live a BD fantasy, whatever.
Yep.
But at the end of it all, it's the code you live by that defines who you are.
Oh, that is so deep, CSB. That is right out of Cyberpunk 77.
And I'm not even sure if that was CSB. That doesn't sound like CSB at all.
Well, I got it.
Well,
I understood what that said.
And I get the go Poland part. I thought he wasn't sending anything anymore because
He's not.
You were Russianing, so somebody must be just posting as CSB.
I was Russianing.
Yeah, I think that's what he said. That you never can tell.
You
never can tell. But that everybody knows there's a quid pro.
Now imagine if that was actually $33 and not 33 cents.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, 33 is at least a couple of bucks, which is better than anything else that has come in.
Hey, it's better than poking the eye with a stick.
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest that to anyone.
No.
But CSB, I mean, he always listens no matter what. He can't help it. The shows that he dislikes the most, he can't help it.
He does not dislike this show. He likes this show.
So 66.66 would be $4.25. You and I can each get a can of Liquid Death at the end of the show and feel good about. I
don't know if that even buys a cheeseburger at McDonald's anymore.
No way. Absolutely no way.
I know I don't really eat at McDonald's, but I do get a Wendy's burger every now and then. Those are up to $9 now.
Yeah, and they're the size of a quarter.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell happened?
But I don't mind that so much. I really, as somebody that would be better off losing some weight, I don't mind the shrinkage of portions in the United States.
I don't mind
if they kept the same price but got smaller, that'd be okay.
Correct. Now, I don't mind. There are places that you go that will feed you so much food that there's no way you can eat it, and that is insane. But going the other route, like the burger that I had from Wendy's the last time we picked one up, I would need 4 of them to equal what I believe a Wendy's burger was 5 years ago.
Hey, man, where's the beef?
Where's the beef? Where's everything? And it still don't look like what they have on TV. This was the saddest looking little burger.
Obviously. Yeah. I think they do chicken much better. If you get a Wendy's chicken, that actually, unlike the other fast food places, when you get a chicken there, it's actually a chicken breast and not recombobulated, modified food starch chicken.
Chicken pieces.
It's like chicken goo that was pressed into a shape.
Yes, well, chicken goo is always
That's
good
what
stuff.
you get from Burger King and McDonald's.
It dries into something just good.
I just had Popeyes the other day, and it was a amazing first time experience of having somebody that understood what I was saying in the drive-thru, and I could hear them back. It was like, holy shit, technology.
Like, really? They finally got a drive-thru?
Popeyes is always notorious for having like the worst drive-thru speaker system.
Welcome to drive-thru.
That's exactly what it sounds like usually.
Like, what are you doing?
They use the best microphones.
They invested in a new device.
Yeah, they got a new one. And I was like, holy shit. I even told the guy, I'm like, well, have a nice day. It's like, oh, thank you. No one ever says that.
Thank you, sir. I know. I'm always nice to people working in restaurants and fast food. Because it is a crappy job with very little. Everybody complains. But when's the last time somebody was like, wow, man, you guys were quick. Thank you. Of course, you do that, and then you drive halfway home and realize your order's wrong, and then...
Well, that's why you always check your order. I checked my order, man. I wanted to make sure that they gave me all the... I just got a bunch of wings, basically. That was all I got there.
I've not been in Popeyes for a long time because I think they're another one. With the chicken that they, for whatever reason, won't make it without the MSG. KFC was the same way.
That's right. Yeah.
I had shawarma
like
the other day.
I actually bought some.
I know you used it. I had shawarma and then had a migraine. I'm like, are they fucking using it? Because really, I've had it before and it was fine. But you wonder if they're getting to the point where they're trying to save a little money. And you add the MSG to try to offset, that maybe you're not using the best of everything. Because this place would open up.
That is a false thing that Americans have a perception.
It's the way it's used.
MSG does not mean that the food is bad. MSG is just Asian salt.
Right.
It's what they use in general. And it's a better salt because it enhances the flavor. So they actually got salt figured out better than we did. And, saying that it's only used in crappy food, I think is
no, I didn't say it's only used in crappy food.
I know, but that's the impression people have for the most part. I'm not saying you necessarily have that impression, but it's one that you're kind of fortifying right now.
Well, I can see where if you were a business that's been going along fine, everything's good, and you're seeing that you're not making your profit margins, and you've never used MSG before, right? You might think, well, I can cut back a little bit on the quality of the meat or the quality of the vegetables, and I can add this because it is a flavor enhancer.
No
they do.
Business
they absolutely
that.
do.
No,
they
do.
They
don't.
They do, man. Let's get some restaurateurs that are honest.
Yeah, let's get some restaurateurs that'll say, yeah, we were thinking, how do we make our food worse and then just add something to it so people don't notice?
Exactly. Well, this is exactly the business you have today. How can we get people to continue buying the food yet save money? And this would be a way to do it. I mean, there's different types of fillers. Obviously, all that's been used. Like you said, this is why we have kind of recoagulated chicken pizzas that aren't real.
Somebody did a video I watched where they took I think it was a Burger King shake or an ice cream or something, and then they just set it on a table and then left it there. And 8 hours later, it was still solid.
That's scary.
And it's like, well, clearly there's no ice cream here. It's what is that
fat
material that stays, that yes, they cool it off when they serve it to you and you think it's ice cream, but when you warm it up, it doesn't melt.
Right. It's like the stuff that's in margarine.
It's like styrofoam.
Right. It's like the stuff in margarine. You put margarine in your trunk, you forget it, you find it in 20 years, still margarine.
Yeah. It tastes exactly the same. Yeah. Yeah. Because you know the whole backstory with margarine, right?
It was accidentally discovered or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was an industrial waste product.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
NetNet says MSG is not that bad for you. It's like, in general, I'm with you, but for me, it gives me a migraine. So it is bad.
Yeah, he's allergic to it. That's the problem.
Right.
It's not that it's bad for you. It's just that certain number of, people that hate Asians are allergic to it.
Yeah. And there are certain people that can't eat peanuts, and I love peanuts, so I get it. I just say for myself personally, I have to avoid the MSG. My wife eats it. Oh, this is great shit. I'm like, fuck you.
Oh, she likes it? Yeah.
Well, she doesn't mind. I mean, she'll have the Chinese food that has the MSG in it, and it's...
if you want to take a test, just for advice for anybody, that to see if you have an allergy to MSG, get a can of Pringles potato chips.
The flavored
it has
ones.
one of the any flavor. Doesn't matter. They have one of the highest concentrations of MSG of any product.
Yeah.
And you will immediately know whether it's like, if you think, oh, these taste pretty good. Keep in mind, you're basically eating paper and you think it tastes good because of the MSG.
Right.
And if you eat a chip and you don't feel good, then you know that you have an MSG allergy.
Oh, I know I do. In the regular,
I know you do. I'm just giving advice to our listeners.
People. The other Pringles, the non-flavored Pringles, I don't think uses MSG, but all of their flavored
think all of them do. I've tried all of them. Then they all, and the way that I know it,
the regular ones don't, but the flavored ones do.
I think you're wrong. I think they all do. But the way I know that they have MSG, because I'm not allergic to it, is they make iced tea taste different.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, because the MSG from the chips actually affects the taste buds. And even if you drink something while you're eating those, it tastes, and it doesn't taste better. That's the thing, is you'd think, well, MSG makes everything taste better. No, it doesn't. It only makes certain starchy things taste better, like rice or potatoes.
And when you're getting it on a chip, it is literally coating the outside, so it's going right onto your tongue.
Exactly. Your inside of your mouth is fully coated with MSG when you eat those things.
And according to the Pringles website, they do not use MSG in their normal
Really? Okay. Well, there you go. So I'm wrong on that. But I guess I get flavored most of the time. They've got to have some kind of flavor that isn't all that flavored then, because I have had just what tastes like regular
that's probably
chips.
True.
could get like potato chip flavored.
Right, it's different. It's a little. They have their flavor favorites. Wow. So the original would be the ones that are free.
Is that the green can?
The red. The green one is sour cream and onion.
Oh, that's the one I always get as a green can.
Yeah, that's loaded with MSG.
Okay.
As are their barbecue crisp, cheddar cheese.
Oh, yeah, I've had those.
The sea salt and vinegar might not. The pizza crisp definitely. I remember looking through these ones, and that's why
just has sodium nitrate on it. There's no MSG.
Now, I don't know who makes them for Aldi, but Aldi has it's the same can. It's their brand of those style chips come without MSG, which I'm guessing they're made by Pringles. They're just done then without the
factories, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. Without that added into it.
I just don't trust anything at Aldi.
There is also in the sea salt and vinegar, that one does not have the MSG in it.
Yeah, yeah. Why would you put monosodium glutamate when you already have sodium nitrate in there?
Now, it definitely is in the sour cream and onion. That has the MSG in it.
Oh, it's got all the goodness.
It's got all the, right. Okay, so it's dried potatoes, vegetable oil.
Yeah.
And let's see. Well, the vegetable oil has then their ingredients, which is quite scary at the, anyway.
Vegetable oil comes out of the oil shafts in the Gulf of Mexico.
Degerminated yellow corn flour, cornstarch, rice flour, maltodextrin, mono and diglycerides, salt, whey, sour cream, and then
maltodextrin is a nasty, nasty thing. You don't want to be eating that.
Monosodium glutamate, onion powder, coconut oil, dextrose, sugar, natural flavors, non-fat milk, citric acid, sodium caseinate, lactic acid, yeast extract, disodium insoanate, disodium guanylate. Wow, this is good stuff.
Guanylate, yep.
Yeah, buttermilk, malic acid, invert sugar. What is invert sugar? And cultured non-fat milk.
I'm not sure what invert sugar is, actually.
Never heard. Don't remember ever seeing invert sugar as an ingredient, but I'm sure it's good for you no matter what.
The sad part is I know what most of those ingredients do.
Well, you've worked in some of the shadier areas of the world.
Yes. And I have a lot of those ingredients in little bags in my cupboard in my kitchen.
Well, of course you would. And I know you could buy the MSG in the little.
I have like a 5-pound bag of MSG.
See, there you go. You could just add it.
Yeah, you could add it to anything. But really, mostly the only things that it's going to have a massive effect on is high starch items. I don't like. You can make like beef with MSG, but I don't think it tastes good.
Invert sugar, also known as invert sugar syrup, is a liquid sweetener made from granulated table sugar and water. Okay.
Oh, so why is it called invert sugar then?
Let's see.
That sounds like simple syrup.
On Healthline, there is a section. Why is it called invert sugar? Congratulations. It earned its name from its unique light reflective properties. The presence or absence of chemical bonds between sugar molecules can alter the direction in which light is reflected as it passes through them. When polarized light passes through regular sugar, it's always reflected in a certain direction. When the same light passes through invert sugar, it reflects in the opposite direction. Hence, it's called invert sugar.
So it's literally an LCD panel material.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck are you? Who's looking at which way the light's going through their fucking sugar?
For a kitchen ingredient.
Right. I don't understand.
The chemistry of food is an interesting topic.
And a horrifying one, depending how you look at it. Well, you see what we're eating now.
An FDA agent. And it was interesting seeing what kind of a chemical tests and shit that they do.
If they actually do it, or if they're just like, oh yeah, we're pretending.
Oh no, she had a badge and everything.
Ooh, you like that part?
Oh yeah. I was like, put on your uniform, baby.
Yeah, you got a badge. Oh yeah,
exactly. That was an interesting thing. A lot of these people are These people.
These people. Yeah, that sounds like a racist statement to
laugh
follow.
at myself. I know.
Let me tell you about these people.
And by these people, of course, I mean government agents.
Yes.
A lot of these people are, like you wouldn't know them if you met them outside of their work clothes.
Because they're just regular people?
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's the weirdest thing.
You'd think for sure you'd be like, if you saw somebody naked, you'd be like, government agent.
Yeah, I would hope so. But sometimes not the case.
Entrapment. That's all I'm saying.
Uh-huh. What was that? What was that little dip in the... What are you doing?
It's the show. It's over. It's noon.
What, you're supposed to end the show by saying, that your wife is coming down the driveway.
No, that's before I go to open the door. We always end the show at like noon.
Is it noon?
After a pithy line.
What time zone are we in?
If we central, if you say something like pithy and then we like hit it and it's like, wow, the show's over. That was exciting. We do a take two.
Okay.
Now everybody on X's, we're going to think we're just amateurs.
We are amateurs.